Hello YouTube. In this episode I thought I'd talk about the fact that we now have got a Nissan Leaf. So any of you who've watched my previous videos would know that probably about a year ago we bought a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, a Mitsubishi Outlander, and we bought that because we needed to replace our Ford Mondeo, and we needed a big vehicle that we can get lots of camping equipment and things in like that. But we wanted to sort of go down the electric route to be green. We could use it in conjunction with our solar panels. So we picked the PHEV because most of our trips, local trips, are short, and so we can do it all on the electric part. But then when we go camping, or if we go and visit family, we can use the petrol engine part to go further. So that left us with a sort of a full petrol car and a hybrid car. And having now dipped our toe in the water, our petrol engine car came to the end of its life. Really, we'd had it for about 14 years. And although it was running okay, it was getting to need more and more work done on it in order to sort of keep getting through the MOT and stuff. So we decided that we'd like to get rid of it, and we wanted to get a full EV this time. We looked around at various things that were around now. We really liked the Hyundai Ioniq, a full electric vehicle that's just come out, and it's got a good range. But really, the range isn't enough to sort of, for us to really be able to use it to go, say, to visit family and back without having to do a couple of charges, really. And ideally, I'd like to be able to get an electric vehicle that would go, sort of 250 miles, really. On a charge. So as there are no real vehicles like that around at the moment, other than the Tesla Model S, which is way out of my price bracket. So what we thought we would do is get a second-hand Nissan Leaf as a sort of a stopgap. And we could use the Leaf for sort of 3 or 4 years until we finish paying for the PHEV, and hopefully in sort of 3 years' time, either the Tesla Model 3 will be out and easily available and have a kind of 200 plus mile range, or there'll be one of many other electric vehicles available at that time, and we could trade up and get something with substantial more range. But for now, we've plumped for a 24 kilowatt Nissan Leaf, and there's a picture of it here. It's a good car. It's done 40,000 miles when we bought it. We checked it thoroughly when we went to view it, took it for a test drive. We made sure that the battery indicator showed that no battery bars had been lost. It still has all of the 12 outer markers that shows that the battery hasn't lost any of its capacity yet. And really, for an electric vehicle, I think that's more important than the mileage. I mean, on a petrol engine car, 40,000 miles means it gives you some indication of the wear and tear on the engine. But in an electric vehicle, it's just an electric motor. So the thing that's really important in an electric vehicle is the battery. And as long as the battery's in good condition, probably there's very little else mechanically on the car that could be of an issue. So the battery was good, and the car is good, and it all works nicely, except our car had the SD card missing. when we bought it from the center console. Now we thought originally that this just was it just contained the map data for the satellite navigation system, but as it turns out, it's pretty fundamental to the car. So you can't actually use the air conditioning, the climate control, the radio. You can't set the clock. You pretty much can't do anything except drive the car without this SD card. So luckily we noticed it was missing when we bought the car, and as a condition of the sale, they agreed to get us a replacement card. And we're still in the process of doing that. It's been a lengthy process. It's not as simple as just getting a new card and plugging it in. Each of the cards is individually coded to the car, and they have to be specially ordered, and yeah. So we're still in the process of trying to get that replaced, but in terms of just being able to drive the car, it's fine, and it's great. And we're really impressed with it. It works really well. If you don't have it in eco mode, if you've just got it as normal, when you pull away the lights, I mean, it really shifts. I'm really pleasantly surprised at how quick it is. But most of the time we have it in eco mode. Obviously, trying to get as much range out of it as we can. With a full charge, it says about 80 miles. And again, most of our driving is sort of local commutes and things like that, so we don't really get on motorways or anything like that. So we probably do get about 80 miles out of a charge, and so now we have obviously the Leaf and the PHEV. So for the most part, on a daily basis, we're fully electric. We will almost never use petrol now. We only really use petrol if we go to visit family or if we go camping or something. So I had to put a couple of plug sockets on the outside of the house. I've got a picture of that here, and we've got both the plug-in chargers connected, and obviously this is all connected up to my solar power control system that I've written. And it will try and charge both the cars if there's enough power to do both. Otherwise, it will prioritise the PHEV because that's got the smaller battery and over the Leaf, and is needed. The Leaf's generally got such a big battery range that there's always usually got some capacity in it to take us somewhere, whereas the PHEV tends to run through it quite quick because it's got the small battery. So I've got a picture here of my from my system that shows some power going into the Leaf and the PHEV today. The green is the Leaf, and the red is the PHEV. And so far, up until the end of last month, we'd probably, looking at my graphs, we'd probably done the equivalent of about 1,000 miles using just power from the solar panels. So that's not including obviously charging it up at night when we've not had a particularly sunny day and we've just charged it from the mains, but just charging it from the solar panels, I reckon we've done at least 1,000 miles, probably nearer 2,000 by now, just as a combination of both cars. So that's obviously really, really good. That's entirely green energy. There's no emissions from any of that, and obviously that's no carbon dioxide being produced, which is good. So what else can I say about the Leaf? It's a good little car. It drives nice. It's really quiet. It doesn't have the paddle shift regen braking like the PHEV, which would have been nice for it to have, because one of the benefits with the PHEV is using the paddles. You can actually put it into sort of like a zero regen mode, so you can actually just freewheel, and a lot of the time that's a much better thing to do than to sort of capture energy and then use it again to keep going. If you can just kind of freewheel for a bit on a slope, then that's going to be get you that bit further, but the Leaf doesn't really have that. I mean, you can sort of do it by sort of slightly pressing on the throttle and trying to balance it so that it's not going into regen and it's not using energy to actually push it forwards as a kind of. But it would be nice if it had that, but it doesn't. But the regen braking is really good, and it's really quite powerful, so that you can almost drive just with one foot. You know, you almost never have to use the brakes, because it just regens, slows you down really fast. We haven't tried using a fast charger or anything like that on it yet, because we don't really go anywhere major with it. So we just charge it from the mains. It seems to pull slightly less power than the PHEV when it's charging. So I think it probably only pulls about sort of 2,100 watts when it's charging, whereas the PHEV seems to pull about 2,300, 2,400 watts when it's charging. So it charges at a slightly lower rate, but in some ways that's a good thing, because it means if we're generating power in the house and we haven't got quite enough to pump into the Mitsubishi, then obviously we've got that little bit less, because the Leaf takes a little bit less, so it might be just enough to put into the Leaf without having to draw anything from the grid. So that's pretty good. Since we've now had both the cars for we've been a fully electric family now for probably about a month, maybe just over. I've got a pie chart here that shows how much of the energy that we've generated from the solar in the last month has been allocated to different things, and you can see that between the PHEV and the Leaf, they take up a significant amount of our generated electricity. The other section is just basically just everything else in the house that hasn't got separate meter on it. So that will be, you know, the washing machine and the fridge and the freezer and the kids' Xboxes and the telly and all, you know, just everything else. You can see we pumped a certain amount into the immersion as well, and you know, that's just helps to save a bit of gas. And and you can see the most important thing there is that we don't actually we've exported very little. We've pretty much used most of what we've generated, which is really what I'd like to do. That's my ultimate aim, would be to try and utilize as much as possible what we can produce, and having all electric vehicles will certainly help us towards that end. So that's it really for this episode. There's not really much more to say about the Leaf. It's a great car, and you know, there's dozens of other videos on the internet of people who drive Nissan Leafs. So I'm sure you can watch. They'll tell you a lot more about the car itself. For me, this video is more about how we can try to utilize as much of our energy as possible and to be as green as possible, and reduce our emissions to the bare minimum. So this is one way to help us do that, and like I say, hopefully in a couple, 2 or 3 years time, or 3 or 4 years time probably, there'll be electric cars out with significantly more range, you know, with sort of 60 kilowatt batteries, that will allow you to do 250 plus miles. I mean, that would be the ideal for us. So I've got my eye on Tesla Model 3. I've not put my name down for one yet, because I really want to see one in the flesh and see what it's like before I make a decision. But I know there are a lot of other cars sort of being announced by various manufacturers now, and 250 miles seems to be the sort of figure that they're all sort of touting. So for us, that would be, you know, we could get and see family and back on a charge, and we wouldn't have to stop at motorway services to recharge. So I mean, that would be the ideal, because although, you know, a rapid recharge is only going to take sort of 25-30 minutes, yeah, if we don't need to do it, I'd rather just sort of get there and back, and then plug the car in when we get home and let it charge overnight. So that's going to be the plan. So I think one of the things I might look at doing in another video is to get some sort of now we've got 2 electric vehicles, to get some sort of rapid charger, so that we can push energy into them a lot quicker. Ideally, I want to get something that will that I'll be able to integrate nicely into my system. So I need to be able to track the amount of power it's sending in and out and all the rest of it, so I can balance the rest of my system based on power that's available. So I'm going to look into that and do a future video about that, hopefully. But in the meantime, I'll leave it there, and I will see you all in the next video.